You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. And be sure to smash that like button. Mike Casazza covers the West Virginia Mountaineers for 247 Sports at earsports.com, EERsports.com. He's on Twitter at Mike Casazza. Lots of vowels. I can empathize. Mike, thanks for the time, man. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me. A fun time, huh?
It's our pleasure. We're looking forward to it. What's sort of the vibe check there in Morgantown?
I think a lot of people would stand on the outside looking at this and just think that West Virginia's got house money. Like, hey, we're here and see what happens. I don't know, man. Like, that was kind of what they did last year. They had to go to Chapel Hill for the Super Regional. It was the first Super Regional ever for the school. But now it's back-to-back. They've survived a coaching transition. Survived isn't even the right word. They've prospered through a coaching transition. They were red hot at multiple times during the regular season, and then they really kind of slumped toward the end. But here they are, like going to a Super Regional for the second straight season, the second time in school history, and huge challenge. I think they understand that, but they've seen, as Sabins was saying, they're pretty raucous crowds. They've seen good pitching. They've seen good teams, not the team as good. I just don't think that they're going to be like tail between the legs. I don't think they're coming for a participation trophy. Expect that they will, trying to win this thing, as weird as that may sound, right?
No, I don't think it's weird at all. You're 2 wins away from Omaha. Yeah. I mean, I think everybody would be all in to try to go find a way to win 2 games and go to Nebraska. Would you say the strength of the team is the pitching staff, or is it the offense?
It is the top end of the pitching staff.
Okay.
Their bullpen has been not great, including the regional, but their starting pitching, their 1-2 is very good. They have a first-team All-Big 12 pitcher. They have another All-Conference pitcher who really only was a starter for, I think, 6 or 7 regular season and Big 12 tournament games and regional games, so it's not like he was doing this all year, but his numbers and his performances have been very good. Their trouble is if the starters don't go deep into the game and they can't get to their top relievers, and that conversation's even smaller now because they've had some struggles and some injuries. And what happens if they go to a Game 3? They were really stressed in Game 3 of the regional. If they had to go to Game 4 or Game 5, that was going to be a problem for them, I think. So they did okay. Fine in that regard. And it's been good enough because their offense for a long time was very good in on-base percentage and batting average. Not a big bat team. They don't hit a lot of doubles and homers, but they scored a lot of runs. That cooled off, and that really hasn't heated up yet. But they did score, 9 runs against Clemson. They had 2 6-run innings to erase 5-run deficits, a pair of them actually, against Kentucky in the clincher. So they probably feel better about their offense. Starting pitching's fine. Their bullpen's been a problem, though.
Sounds eerily familiar. A lot of the conversations having around here. Let's talk about Griffin Kern, because I would assume that's who's going to get the ball on Saturday opposite Cade Anderson. So we'll see the lefty-lefty matchup there. Give us the breakdown of Kern, the big 6'3" lefty.
He's a Division II kid, and this is the second year in a row they've had a Division II transfer who's left-handed who's been their Friday starter. So lightning strikes twice here. So it's not something that happens very often, but here's someone who thought he was really good, but he was from a small part of Illinois and just kind of a late bloomer. But he went to a Division II school, Quincy University in Illinois, and did okay, had some good success. He went to the Cape in between his sophomore and junior years and did okay. Just didn't get a lot of attention in the portal, came back and dominated again in Division II, went to the Cape again. But in between those times, he just decided, I'm going to provide myself the resources that Division II kids don't have. So he started having a personal trainer and a pitching coach and a strength coach and an acupuncturist. And then he went to the Cape and he lit it up. And at this point, he was headed to West Virginia. And West Virginia went from big investment to big, ROI. They thought they had something right there. And he's been their Friday starter the entire season. That's kind of an unusual thing. A transfer from a Division II to be your Friday guy and unquestioned. And he's a first-team all-conference player. And tools, velocity, spin rate, dip, drop, all that, fine. He's a really competitive kid. He doesn't mind going 7, 8, 9 innings. Doesn't mind grinding through a bad inning or a tough part of the lineup. And I know that LSU's familiar with this, but he started the Friday game through 118 pitches, and then he came back and he closed the Sunday game. So that's a guy that they do not mind asking to endure tough situations. Hey, we don't trust our bullpen. Can you get through this? Can you get yourself right? Or, hey, we don't trust our bullpen. Can you be our closer? And that's kind of a gift for this team that they really needed.
Mike Casazza is with us. earsports.com covers West Virginia. So Kern will go game 1 against Anderson. I guess the other arm you're talking about would be Cartsonas. But it's interesting, Mike, I've looked at a lot of the weekends, and it looks like that number 2 spot is kind of shuffled a good bit. So how have they handled that throughout the year, just the weekend rotation?
So their number 2 was a Carson Estridge, who's a really toolsy pitcher. He's probably got a pro career if he's healthy, and that's been an issue late in the season. And they wanted to make him the number 2 this year. And he was okay for a while, but he wasn't getting deep into games, and he wasn't pitching clean innings, and he wasn't giving them great outings. He was so good in the postseason last year, in the regional and the super regional, out of the bullpen. He came in some tough spots and got out of jams, and looked like he had just wiped out stuff sometimes. And they said, you know what, let's make him a starter. That'll be great. And it just didn't work. And they said, we need a dog in the bullpen. So they moved him back there. And from the bullpen, they moved Jack Cartsonas, who's an older player, fifth-year senior, who's at Kent State. He's been through arm injuries. He's missed seasons. And, in fact, he had a surgery after he committed to West Virginia in the portal. But West Virginia knew him from high school. He's from Pittsburgh. That's regional for West Virginia. And said, if we get him right, we got something here. And they nursed him along through the fall and the preseason. Small pitch counts, good situations for him, and he was very, very good. He's got a great sinker. He gets a lot of ground balls. Doesn't have to throw a ton of pitches to get a ton of outs. And they decided, he started before, could he be our number 2, and could we move Carson Estridge back to the bullpen and get that hammer in the back end? And they did. And Estridge was comfortable again in the bullpen, and Cartsonas was just a 7-inning guy on Sundays, which is a huge thing in conference series, as you well know, because your bullpens can get depleted in the first and second games, and sometimes you're throwing guys who are just healthy or available on Sundays. And he was keeping the bullpen in check, and they were able to be more aggressive on Fridays and Saturdays, and that was their secret sauce for a while. But their number 2 pitcher in between was Gavin Van Kempen, who was like a draft league prospect and was really good for a while, but just never was able to extend. He had some arm injuries. He's out now. He won't pitch in the regional last week or this week now. So it's going to be Cartsonas number 2, and he's just filled a huge need for them, because if they don't do this experiment, they really don't have another 2 starter, and he's come forward in a big way for them. And again, to be an all-conference player, starting a third of the conference games, that's a pretty significant achievement.
Mike, if it gets to a day 3, what do you think, a best guess, they would do? Obviously not knowing what would happen in the bullpen in relief in games 1 and 2, but if they get to a game 3, best case, how does that look?
It's a great question, because when we had our interviews with Steve Sabins, the manager the other day, he was talking about all the challenges, and he said, hey, we just got to go figure out a way to win a 3-game series against LSU. That's hopefully a 2-game series. They were in that.
God bless.
Truth,
yeah. No, I get it. Yeah.
I don't want to put words in his mouth because he's great with the media, but I think I got what he was putting down.
Yeah, no, of course. I wasn't being in any way dismissive, and I understand where he's coming from. That's a tough ask, But of course, that's
the reality, right?
It's what both. I think it's what Jay Johnson is sitting here hoping as well. You don't want to get to a 1-game season on Monday because baseball's weird.
Yeah, I mean they would probably go opener. And truth be told, if you look what they did, they played in the regional, which is very different than the super regional. And they only played 3 games in the regional, and they were tapped. They were throwing guys in there who hadn't pitched, but also had never pitched as well as they did in their clinching games. So they got some clutch performances, but can they rely on that to happen again? Can I ask a freshman or a sophomore, a guy who's never pitched in this type of scope before, can they do that again? Maybe, maybe not, but they'll probably go opener. The wild card here, though, and the one to watch, is Chase Meyer. Has just electric stuff. And he can throw 9 pitches and strike out 3 guys. He can throw 9 pitches and miss the strike zone on each one of them and draw the pitching coach out. What the heck is going on here? And it's one or the other sometimes with him. So he could be a guy that if he's not used in the first 2 games, and that's why Kern and Cartsonas are so important, if they can go 6-7 innings, they have enough relievers to get through the 7th, 8th, 9th and be okay. And if they get to a 3rd game, if Meyer hasn't pitched very much or hasn't pitched at all, he can start. He's done it before. He's given them like 4.2 innings against Texas Tech and just looked great. But he's also had, within the same game, if you look at, their regional performance, strikeout, 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 walk, 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 walk. And what are you getting with him sometimes? So he's really a wild card. Will they use him early? How will they use him? Do they kind of keep him muted so maybe he's available for a third game? But a lot of attention on Kern and Cartsonas for sure, but Meyer's the one you need to keep an eye on.
Mike, it's odd. LSU has a guy named Jacob Myers, who it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
He can touch 101, but sometimes it's friggin' Rick Vaughn. I mean, it may go to the backstop. But, man, if he is on, look out, because it is special stuff. A couple more for you. We've all looked, and look, just 55 homers, but 108 stolen bases. Is it fair to classify this as an offensive team? Get them on, get them over, get them in offense?
Yeah, they used to steal a ton of bases and have a ton of sack bunts under the previous manager. And then, for maybe 23, 24, they hit a lot of homers, like 88, 92. Those are big numbers here. Like, they just don't get clout guys here. And their park is not conducive to all that sometimes. The wind can blow around. It's crazy. This year, they got on base so much. They get hit a lot. They take walks. They had a great batting average, and they would steal appropriately. And then when the batting average kind of dried up, they never had a way to supplement things. You couldn't hit the 3-run homer. You needed 3 singles to get a run. And the game's harder that way. And pitchers were able to pick different spots and will have to challenge and be careful with your pitches, because if you do walk this guy, if you lose this guy, this next pitch isn't going over the fence. It might be a single. And okay, now if you got 2 on, well, guess what? They're not going to hit the 3-run homer. It might be another single. The bases are loaded, or it's 1 run instead of 3. And I think that just kind of worked against them a little bit as teams got more hip to their lineup. And just to be honest, man, they had some guys who struggled. They made 2 changes to their starting lineup for the regional. Like, they took 2 bats out and put 2 bats at it that hadn't played very much of it all. And here they are at the end.
Man, it's just interesting. Look, LSU does have some power in the lineup, but it's interesting how similar these two teams seem to be with their composition and makeup and how they've gotten to this point. But you win 44 games, you're doing something right, as West Virginia has. Mike Casazza covers West Virginia as part of 24/7 Sports, earsports.com. Best case scenario, I know you said, would be, look, win the first 2 games behind 2 dominant arms. If it does get to a day 3, how do you think that looks? Not just in the starting pitching, which we talked about, but like what do you think is a blueprint for Coach Sabins on Monday if it gets there?
Yeah, I'm glad you said what you just said about how, like, they're kind of even, and they're not even, but, like, yeah, you can certainly sit there and talk about these teams, like, that sounds familiar. But I wrote about this today. If you look at their revenues, their expenses, it's a completely different sport. Like, they're not in the same atmosphere at all. But here they are. They're going to be on the same field for 3 days. And that means a lot, too. I'm sure both teams, like LSU, is not going to be like, well, we're better because we have more funding. And West Virginia's going to be like, we don't belong here because we don't have the same revenue. Like, that's not going to enter their heads. And West Virginia's been the best road team in the country this year, more road wins than anybody. Their first walk-off win this year came on the road, right? So, like, they have this weird, like, verve and aura about them. I just don't think that they're going to be on the field on Monday and be like, well, we don't belong here, because they'll have earned their right there either by winning Saturday or Sunday against a very good starting pitcher. And then at that point, it's a race of 27. And I do not think that what LSU did against Little Rock is indicative of what that team is. This looks like a team that can win the national championship for sure, and West Virginia knows that. But West Virginia saw 2 really good pitchers and then a blank. And then the plan for the 4th game didn't work out perfectly, although they got the ball. They're a great reliever, and they brought in their starter at the end. It worked fine, but, like, if you can put them in that position, that's probably West Virginia's goal. If it is in a game 3, they're going to be off script, and so will West Virginia. And now this thing is very even, and you just see what happens.
You'll get him on Twitter at Mike Casazza. Great follow this weekend. I did retweet the piece that you posted this morning, earlier today, about the baseball revenues. It's very interesting looking at the stark contrast between the 2 programs, but here they are, both in the same situation, 2 wins away from the College World Series. Mike, we appreciate it, man. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, man. Very kind of the invitation. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.